Hi guys, I'm gonna stitch out my new design. It's called Snow Buddies, and it's going to slip over this Dollar Tree paper towel holder. So it's just gonna be two snowmen, and it'll just slide right over this holder. So I've hooped cutaway stabilizer, and I've stitched out the placement line. Before I go any further, because I'm going to be using felt, I'm going to add this, it's called Pellon Flex Foam. And it's, hopefully you can see how thick this is. It's, oh, maybe an eighth of an inch thick. And I'm just gonna rerun the placement line directly on this flex foam, and then I'm gonna cut around it, and it'll just add a little bit more body to the design because it's so large. And I'm also going to be using felt. If I was using vinyl, I probably wouldn't need it. But so I've got the placement line stitched on my stabilizer. Now I'm going to put the flex foam in, rerun the tack down line again, and then I'll come back and show you that. Okay, so I've tacked down the flex foam. If you don't have flex foam or you don't want to use this, I would suggest putting another piece of cutaway stabilizer in the hoop, just because, especially if you're using felt, just because it'll add more strength to the design. Okay, now just like with any other in the hoop thing project, you're going to cover your placement line, and then the first item to stitch is going to be the arms on the top Santa. So I will go ahead and stitch those and come back and show you. Okay, there are the arms for the uh, large Santa. Now the next uh, item to stitch is going to be the actual snowman. So it's a satin stitch applique. So there's 3 steps. The first step is the placement line, which you stitch out, then you cover that with your fabric, then the tack down, which will actually attach the fabric to your main body of the design, and then I'm going to trim around it, and then the satin stitch. But for the first applique in this design, I'll do each step and come back and show you. I won't do it with all of them because once you've seen one, you don't need to, you'll get the idea. So, okay, I'm going to stitch out the placement line and I'll be right back. Okay, there's the placement stitch for my snowman. Now I'm going to cover it with another piece of felt and run the tack down. And then once the tack down is stitched, I'm going to trim very closely around the stitching, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've tacked down my snowman, and I've trimmed around the tack down line. You don't have to be real careful on this one. It's got a pretty thick satin stitch that goes over it. So, sometimes when it's smaller, you have to be real tedious, but I think that this should be fine. So I'll go ahead and stitch out the satin stitch and come back and show you. Okay, the satin stitch is completed. The next stitch, or the next step I should say, is going to be the hat on the big Santa. So it's going to be the same procedure. I'm going to stitch out the placement stitch for the hat, cover it with my fabric, tack it down, trim around the cutting line, and then I'll do the satin stitching and I'll come back and show you. Okay, there is the hat on the big snowman. So, what's next is the arms on the little snowman. So, I will stitch that out and come back and show you. Okay, so here are the arms for the smaller snowman, and now I'm going to do the applique for the smaller snowman. So again, actually this is going to be a little bit different. This is a bean stitch applique on this one, so there's just the two stitches. There's the placement line, put your fabric on top of it, then do the tack down, and then you trim around it, and there's no satin stitching uh, afterwards. So I will do that and come back and show you. Okay, there is the second snowman. Now the next stitch is going to put the cheeks on both snowmen. Okay, there's the cheeks on both snowmen. Now the next step is going to do the bean stitch applique for the noses on both snowmen. So I will do that and come back and show you. Okay, there are the noses, and now the next stitch is going to be the faces and the mouths on both of the snowmen. Okay, now the faces are done, and the last applique step is the heart on the smaller snowman's stomach. So I will go ahead and put that on. Okay, there's the heart on the small snowman's stomach. Now the next stitch is the snowflake in the hat. Okay, before attaching the backing to the snowman, if you're going to be adding a scarf, this is where you want to do it. You want to take your awl and punch a hole very carefully right here and right here, and then I took a yarn needle because I'm going through several layers of felt and also that real heavy stabilizer. I'm using a yarn needle, which is a little bit heavier, so I poked that through just to make sure that it will go through. And then you want to go in one side without unhooping your project and pull it through carefully. You just got to kind of work it through because you don't want to make your hole bigger than necessary. Okay, I actually went and got a pair of pliers and pulled it through a little bit easy. It was a little bit easier that way. And then you want to go back up on the other side. Again, being very careful not to unhoop your project. Okay. Once I take my needle off, then I'm just gonna make sure this is lying flat. Just like that. Okay, I'm not going to tie it yet. I'm just going to kind of put it together and tape it down so it's out of the stitch line. just like that. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to put the hoop back on the machine, and it's going to stitch the border that goes all the way around the snowman. And that is because your final stitch to attach the backing will just go around the snowman, and it'll leave a 2-inch gap at the bottom for where the napkin holder or the paper towel holder is going to go. So you want the border to be consistent around the whole thing. So that next step, we'll put that on there. And I'll come back before we put the backing on. Okay, there's the border around the entire project. Now I'm going to put my backing underneath my hoop, and it will stitch over the line we just stitched, only leaving an opening of 2 inches at the very bottom. And I'll come back and show you when it's done. Okay, so I've got my snowman all cut out, and I tied the scarf, and then I used pinking shears on the end so it wouldn't fray much more. And the last thing I'm going to do is hot glue a button on the heart. Just like that. And then take your paper towel holder, and voila. There we go. That's from the ribbon. Okay, hope you like them.